Warning: the following episode contains elements of horror that may be unsuitable for listeners under the age of 13. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Beyond the Bizarre, a podcast curated to all things, bizarre. My name is Brianna, and I will be sharing with you urban legends, lore, ghost stories, and more from around our planet. Hey guys, Brianna here. Welcome to a new episode of Beyond the Bizarre podcast. Tonight is our 4th episode of season 2 of the podcast, and we're so excited to share with you guys a ritual because we know how much you guys love rituals. And this episode also marks our last episode for the month of July. It's so crazy to think that we're about ready to hit August and about to roll into fall and just the end of the year already. Feels like 2021 just started, and now here we are getting closer and closer to the end of the year. And as we get closer to August and closer to the fall months, we of course do plan on having some specials for you guys like we did in our first season, so be on the listen for that. But as for tonight, for our 4th episode of season 2, as I said before, we do have a ritual. And this ritual is known as the Red Book Game, also known as El Juego del Libro Rojo. It originated in South America, which is, of course, a large continent. So we weren't able to find exactly or pinpoint exactly where the Red Book Game originated, but we do know that it did come from South American country. However, the most interesting component is that although it did originate in South America, it's played mostly in Mexico, which is very, very cool, I think. And as for the Red Book Game, the closest thing that we probably have to it, the closest comparison that I could find is like the Ouija board, or more recently, the Charlie Charlie game, which is another divination game. And like Charlie Charlie and Ouija boards, the objective is pretty much to ask a question, get answers, invoke the unknown, just don't provoke the unknown. Because you can ask questions, but that doesn't mean the answers won't come without a price. So with that being said, let's get into how to play the Red Book Game. For the Red Book Game, you will need 2 players. You will need a book, but not just any book. The book must have a hard cover, and that cover must be red. And this can't be a childhood picture book either. The book must consist of words only. You will need at least 1 candle. This candle must also be red. You will need matches or a lighter, a quiet room, and of course, your question. To start the ritual, go into your quiet room. Draw the curtains and turn off all the lights. Sit in a circle with the other participant. Place the candle in the middle of the circle and light it. Close your eyes. Place the palm of your hand on the book's cover and ask the following question out loud. Red Book, may I enter your game? Be sure to keep your eyes closed. Open the book to a random page. Place your finger on a random spot on the page. You can open your eyes now. Read the sentence your finger has landed on. This is your answer. Although you must interpret it correctly in order to proceed with the rest of the game. If the answer that you get from the book is negative or doesn't make any sense, contact has not been made. Do not proceed, but you can try again. However, if the answer is positive, you've made contact and can proceed. And in order to proceed, each player, if you're playing with someone else or multiple people, must ask and receive permission to enter the game as well. After each player has received permission to enter the game, close your eyes, place your palm on the book's cover, ask your question out loud. Be sure to keep your eyes closed. Open the book to a random page. Place your finger on the random spot on the page. You can open your eyes now. Read the sentence your finger has landed on. This is your answer, whatever you interpret it to mean to you. After this, pass the book around. Each player who wishes to ask a question must close their eyes, place the palm of their hand on the book's cover, and ask their question aloud. Open the book to a random page and place their finger on a random spot on the page. The sentence that their finger lands on will always be the answer to the question, although the interpretation is up to the person who asked the question. When all questions have been asked and answered, close your eyes and place your palm on the book once more, and ask out loud, "Red book, may I leave your game?" Be sure to keep your eyes closed. Open the book to a random page. Place your finger on a random spot on the page, and open your eyes. Read the sentence your finger has landed on. This is your answer. If the answer is negative or does not make any sense, you do not have permission to leave the game, but you may try again. If your answer is positive, you may leave the game. Keep in mind that each player must ask for and receive permission to leave the game. When all permissions have been accepted, close the book, extinguish all candles, and open the curtains. And lastly, turn on the lights. Here are some other things to keep in mind in terms of the Red Book game. As for start time, there's no specific starting time for the ritual. However, keep in mind that the room should be dark as possible, without any candles lit. So it's advisable to begin the ritual at nighttime. As for the questions that you may ask, no questions are off limits. You just may not want to travel into the realm of the unknown or dark too much, like asking about how you would die or when you would die. You may or may not want to know that. And the most important thing to probably keep in mind is to not begin asking questions without permission or leave the game without permission. Because if you don't have permission, you haven't left the game, and your correspondent is still there with you. The Red Book game is a really cool ritual, I think. Not the scariest ritual that we've covered here at Beyond the Bazaar, but one of the most interesting. And I think it's cool that it originated in the continent of South America and it's played mostly in Mexico. Like I said on our last episode, that we do want to get more into international legends, rituals, and lore, and we intend to make good on that. But with the Red Book game, the one thing I do call thinking when I first read about it was that it's just simple. It appears to be a simple game, simple ritual, but it may not be if you actually were to play it. Especially, I remember when I read the part where it says you have to ask for permission to leave or ask for permission to potentially leave the game. What if you don't get permission? Like, what if you're just stuck there? What if it just never lets you go? That's where my mind went. That's just probably one of the creepiest things for me, is because just the unknown and the uncertainty. But at the same time, I suppose there is a certain thrill to it that makes it worthwhile playing. I also found it interesting that it kind of had the same components of the games that we're more familiar with here in the States, like the Ouija board and Charlie Charlie, which is the newest divination variation that we have here. You know, it's amazing to see all these kind of components kind of come together, from different points of the world. And speaking of different points in the world, I was originally only going to share that one ritual with you guys tonight, but I decided to go ahead and share another here. And that ritual is known as summoning the Red Man. And not Red Man the rapper, but the Red Man of Japanese folklore. Now, like the Red Book game, I wasn't really able to find the origins of summoning the Red Man, but I was able to find, like I said, it is a part of Japanese folklore, kind of similar to the Akamanto or the Red Cloak that we had shared last season, which was one of my favorite episodes that we were able to share with you guys. So it's the origins possibly came from there, from what I was able to gather. That could have been a main influence. But that's kind of the closest thing that I could kind of find that's close to whatever the Red Man is supposed to be. So with that being said, let's get into summoning the Red Man. So this ritual only allots for one player. You will need a quiet room, a sheet of paper, a pair of scissors, something to write with, 5 candles, matches or a lighter, 2 mirrors, and the mirrors must be capable of standing upright on their own accord, and red lipstick. Preparing the ritual. Begin the ritual at night. Go to a quiet room and bring all of your supplies. Close the curtains and shut the door. Using the scissors, cut out the shape of a man from the sheet of paper. Bisect the paper man. Using your writing tool, draw a line down the center of it. On the left side of the paper man, write your full name. On the right side of the paper man, write the word Rubius. Using the lipstick, draw a pair of eyes on one mirror. The eyes should be positioned in the top half of the mirror. Position the mirrors opposite of one another, with about 12 inches of space between them. The reflective surfaces should be facing one another. The mirror with the eyes drawn on it should be on the left. Take the paper man and place it in the space between the mirrors. If you think of the space as the face of a clock, with 12 o'clock at the top, 6 o'clock at the bottom, and the mirrors at 3 and 9 o'clock, the paper man's head should be at 12 and his arms at 3 and 9. The line that you drew that bisected the paper man and the words you wrote on the paper man should be facing outwards, with the blank side facing the floor. Place the candles around the clock face at 12, 2, 5, 7, and 10 o'clock. Lastly, turn off the lights. Summoning. Use the matches or lighter and light the candle positioned at 7 o'clock. Using the matches or lighter, then light the candle positioned at 12 o'clock. Again, using the matches or lighter, light the candle positioned at 5 o'clock. Then, light the candle positioned at 10 o'clock. Then light the candle positioned at 2 o'clock. Using the scissors, cut the paper man in half along the line that you previously drew on him. Make sure to keep him within the circle of the candles as you do so. After he has been cut, place the left half of the paper man closer to the left-hand mirror and the right hand closer to the right-hand mirror. Close your eyes. Repeat the following words 6 times. Please come, please come. I will not leave until you come. Extinguish the candle positioned at 12 o'clock. Extinguish the candle positioned at 7 o'clock. Extinguish the candle positioned at 2 o'clock. Extinguish the candle positioned at 10 o'clock. Extinguish the candle positioned at 5 o'clock. The arrival. Is he there? He should be there. Look closely, but be careful. The aftermath. When you're done playing, erase the eyes from the left-hand mirror. Collect all the candles in the two halves of the paper man. Take the candles in the paper man somewhere far, far away. Bury them deep within the earth. Do not return to the burial site again, and never use the mirrors again. Here are some things to keep in mind while playing the Red Man game, or summoning the Red Man. Keep in mind that once the game has begun, it cannot be stopped. You cannot abort the game, abandon the game, or stop it. So it's best to not begin the game unless you intend on finishing it. Do not begin the game unless you are able to finish it. So even if you want to chicken out, you can. As for any bystanders or friends, if you have any friends that wish to meet the Red Man, they may be present in the room while the game is proceeding, although they may not participate in the actual summoning of the Red Man. However, anyone who does not wish to meet the Red Man should leave the room before the preparation stage of the game begins. So, once again, do not be in the room unless you intend on or want to meet the Red Man. So, about the mirrors. You can play the game during the day, however, it's not recommended to do so. So it's because no amount of light from outside can reflect on the mirrors during the game. It won't work, so the game will pretty much not work and will be ineffective, and who knows what the consequences of that is. So it's best to wait until nighttime to play the game. Also, regarding the mirrors, keep in mind to do not allow yourself to see your own reflection in either mirror at any point after step 7 of the preparation. So that means after you use the lipstick to draw the eyes in the mirror, make sure you do not see your own reflection at any time. And lastly, concerns of the Red Man. So even though you've played the game and you take the pieces, bury it, never come back, never use the mirrors, do not assume that the Red Man has left at the end of the game. Do not assume that just because you've done all this, you are safe. Do not assume anything at the end of the game. Because just because you're done playing doesn't mean that he is. So I initially meant to say this before sharing both of these rituals with you guys. As always, play at your own risk. Don't blame us if something were to go amok. Play at your own risk. But if something were interesting to happen, please let us know. We would love to hear it. Now, the Red Man ritual I really, really, really do like. I think it's just the perfect amount of creepy. Kind of lets your imagination wander, especially when you're reading through it. It's kind of just like, even though it's a ritual, it's kind of like you're kind of reading a short, scary story of sorts. And while doing research, I've really become really, really interested and engrossed in the urban legends, folklore, rituals of Asian countries. They're always so very interesting and so very kind of in touch with real world fear. Like when we had shared Akamanto and Hanako-san, the bathroom dwelling spirits last season. Bathroom is supposed to be like a place of privacy, a place of comfort. So it's just true terror to think that things like that can be lurking there. So it's just like they really get in touch with just true terror. Like they just really know how to get in touch with it. I find that in a lot of their works, lore, literature, even their movies. So it's just kind of like that unsettling horror that, just they perfect so well. So of course we will be sharing more urban legends and lore from other Asian countries in episodes to come. And that's for the Red Man ritual. It kind of leaves off on that ominous note, like just because you're done playing doesn't mean that he is. So it's kind of like a watch your back kind of thing, because you may have started something that you can't leave, or you may have a hard time leaving. So they kind of like should stop anyone from wanting to partake in the ritual, but you have some people out here that, may just want to do it for bragging rights, as this ritual you don't really gain anything from it, doesn't really go to mention what the point of summoning him is, as opposed to the Red Book game, you get a question answered. But sometimes with these rituals, the only thing you really have to gain is just an experience and hopefully some spooky fun. And spooky fun is exactly what we're all about here at Beyond the Bizarre. So be sure to come back every Tuesday for a new episode and more bizarre frights and scares. Until then, stay bizarre.